59 miles per hour, and they're along the Gulf Coast, miles per hour. And these videos that have been sent into our newsroom are really nothing compared to what we are going to continue to see as this storm continues to churn its way there. You can see the dock. Its owner as they try to go out for a brief little walk there and some of these windy. Martha, we will continue in the videos that are being newsroom here tonight, and we only want you to send these videos to if you're able from your Ring door when you have the app, and you can just and see some of the condition around the area. Greg, Martha.
I've been checking my surveillance cameras as well, so I do that. It is, as Darlene said, that's a really
way to do it.
Way to do it.
Side, and you just
cool.
observe what's going on. Good stuff. All right, and we're going to take a break, and we're going to have Tom Terry coming back to you with the latest on Helene.
During COVID, working families struggled to get Summersill cashed in. Summersill took thousands of taxpayer dollars from working families. For $1 billion. And insiders, Doug Bengtson, working families first.
Red flags. We see them on bad deals and bad politicians. Sarah Henry repeatedly attacks people of faith, called the cross a symbol of discrimination. Nationalists even opposed optional prayer at school football games. Sarah Henry, too hateful, too many red flags. That Smith will solve problems, not leader.
When I grow up, I'm gonna be an astronaut. I'm gonna.
Oh. Didn't. Douglas spends his day marching with left-wing radicals to fund the police. Violent and
I'll.
Not a real Mr.
protest. But job, beat a rep.
Heart disease. And this company claimed it could cure them with, in truth, pyramid scheme that preys on desperate, shady, it's creepy, and that's why protection lawsuit. Miller has twice been sued for defrauding creditors and even lying personal assets. You wouldn't buy Kelly Deanna Miller's snake oil. Don't vote for it.
All right, welcome back. It's about 8:25 on this Thursday evening. We continue to track Hurricane Helene. Good evening.
Warm, and so we're thinking between 10:30 and 11 will be that, again, the eye wall. So we're getting close. That means that those outer bands really should start whipping us pretty good tonight. Giovanni Diaz is live. He is in what we know as our live and driving. It appears that area in Gio, I think you might be the only car on the road.
Yeah, so Orange County now in the Apopka area. This what you're seeing. 29. You heard from Tom earlier today. You should not be out and about at this time. He mentioned about it after the sunset. If you're in Osceola County, if you are in Orange County, you should not be out on the streets. And as you can see, things are calm. Not a lot of people. We've been driving through the area for a while now. So this is the time when you should be indoors. You should not be out. Or calm down. The good news is definitely we have seen far fewer people out and about than we would see on the regular Thursday night. That means people are really taking this thing seriously as they should. Now, again, tornado watch in effect until 6 in the morning. That time was extended just about an hour ago, and that includes 10 counties. Orange County, the storm still expected to hit us starting now. So if you're in Orlando, Apopka, Kissimmee, Winter Park, all of those cities now included in this tornado watch. Flood watch, also very important, in effect until tomorrow night for all of those counties that after Hurricane is gone, you could still see rivers all over flooding, and that's it. Folks in Orange County, in the areas near Delaney Park, Wakeville Park, surrounding areas in downtown Orlando where residents have been complaining and dealing with flooding since the beginning of the weekend. There was a flood situation going on there. And now, the good news here is that earlier today, Mayor Demings of Orange County, that as many as 32,000 sandbags were distributed ahead of Hurricane Helene. So that is the good preparing for this. We drove through those neighborhoods earlier today. We saw already on the streets some tree limbs, trash cans flipped over. That is minor, but still more of that. So I'm here to see what's going on. We'll have an update for you.
Did you turn off the Wi-Fi?
All right, I just checked the Florida
Did you turn off the Wi-Fi?
report, and a lot of the roads are closed across Florida because of a tree down water there, but we do have now F8. It did not show a lot of cars on the road. There are people that are out, and there are people that now have been in an accident, and there are people that are injured.
All right, we hope that they are.
Okay?
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
And earlier clients took in 5 dogs from Madison County. This really touched a lot of our viewers' hearts.
It did. I've been getting messages on social media. We have Stephen Barty in right now. He's a director from Pet Alliance. He is on the and Stephen, I saw the adorable pictures in the email that you sent. How did we get involved here in Orlando to head on up Big Bend area and rescue those dogs?
So we're part of a network of Florida shelters that come together during really every natural disaster and coordinate who's ideally suited to take which animals. So we took 5. There were 3 other shelters along the way that took the bus and drove it down. Sometimes we will go to the shelter, pick them up. This time it was coordinated where they dropped them off.
And your whole key was to get in there before the roads, maybe became impassable or there was an issue. I love this bus, and you use this bus to go all over, I'm assuming.
Hope on Wheels.
Love it.
That's one of our partners' buses. We have really nicely tricked out vans.
We're looking at some our screens and our viewers. I've had a couple of viewers asking me, are these dogs available for adoption? Will they be available?
They will be available, but probably until Tuesday. Our vets want to quarantine them for a few days, check them out medically, and then release them for adoption.
I've got some names for those dogs. How about Kane, Windy, and Stormy?
And Helene, if there's a girl.
Oh, and Helene, yeah, of course, that's the obvious.
Live.
Those, Helene,
Stephen, is there any other call to action? Do you have any other of our 4-legged friends anywhere in the state? I mean, as you know, watching our coverage, that it's going to be a wallop to that area. Is there anything else that you all are going to be doing?
Post-storm, we wait to see, like, these dogs happen to be in a shelter that was outdoors, so they would have been exposed to all the elements. We will then start to work with shelters that may have physical damage that can't, keep the dogs and cats that they have. So the group of shelters that coordinates around the state. We're uniquely situated in Orlando, and it's part of when we build our new shelter, even more space to work with shelters of natural disasters.
And it's a shame that this is needed, but it is good that you are there to help. So hopefully they'll get some shelters that have cover in the future, and we're looking forward to you all opening your shelter. And again, those dogs that you saw, that we all have a passion for, those special animals that no fault are available as we get through this storm. We appreciate Kane, unlike me.
Those are much for joining us tonight. You stay safe, and again, you do. Pet Alliance is just a wonderful organization. I know that Tom and I. So a great organization, and we thank you for all that you do.
From right there.
Your doggy, yeah.
Yeah, it was great. Lucky and Tucker. All right, so we're getting down about 2.5, 3 hours. Getting close, yeah. Before we make landfall in this part of Florida.
Okay.
But we can, fortunately, to read, I kind of highlight some of the verbiage. Widespread and prolonged power outages, damage to critical infrastructure, critical damage to trees, power lines, widespread inaccessibility due to block roads, damage. Well, it's a whole page of that. So that's kind of what they're looking at up there in the Panhandle right now. The east side of Tallahassee, they may be able to just squeeze out of the western eye wall with this, which is where we will have some of the strongest winds. But everything can be a big one. Everything can be rebuilt. This one.
So what are the population? What are we talking about? I mean, we know that we have all of the schools up there. You know, our kids up. I mean, is it a heavy populated area where it's going?
That's where the population center is in that part of the state. I mean, that's the most populous area up there. But and like with our friends and our college friends, we're like, get those kids out of here. A lot of them are, some of them can't. You know, it's going to be a big mess. And along the Gulf Coast, we could have inundation all the way up to Highway 98. And I don't think we've ever seen that before. There will be rescues that are going to be needed, no doubt. Yeah. Let me walk over. I want to show you. Meteorologist David Hecker kind of pulled this map up, and we have the velocity coming in out of Tallahassee. And this is something that, this is pretty incredible. The radar sends out, it kind of bounces back off of targets and kind of judges how fast they're moving. Imagine this is a policeman here along in your Corvette at 142. Drops are traveling 142, not at the it's around. So as it goes a little bit higher, but you can see as we time lapse that the wind speed's going up and up and up. We're in high wall right now, 142,000 feet. The surface, it's about 130. So that fit and we get a lot of lightning in tropical. We don't have the nice interactions that generally create lightning, but where we're such a warm, so much in propelling up these electrons, and we're getting lots of lightning. And right now, about 68 miles from here from Tallahassee, it looks like it'll probably just skirt on the east side, but just barely. So this is a 35-mile wide eye. If you just extrapolate that up, it's going to put Tallahassee probably in the 100 range, and lots of widespread tree damage you can expect. They've gone to college. Beautiful area, but they really haven't been nailed by like this one. And you can see just some of the towns in the way. The coast here that's going to really hit a lot of these populated areas. We're just kind of showing you some of the areas that are going to be hit with this. Let me switch graphic sources right back now, and I want to show up on the. And this is Friday, Georgia, Cat 2. This is going to wrap this whole. If you're going to be traveling up there, if you're going to be heading out on Friday, heading up 75 or I-10, due to just infrastructure and trees, etc. This is going to be the area of maximum winds, and you can kind of see it here on the east side of Tally, Perry, Cross City, and all the way up toward Valdosta. We're on this eastern side of this, but I do think landfall will be between 11 o'clock, 11:30, and that's when the set point crosses the coast up here side of Tallahassee. Some of the wind gusts coming in, and this is not in a rain squall. This is just good old-fashioned wind. That's how broad the tropical storm force wind field is around this hurricane. 58, 59 miles an hour. Really, that's at the airport, but we've already seen wind gusts over 70, and even, I believe it, Pete. So very strong winds with this, and it'll be making landfall in about 3 hours. What we're really watching for some of these very fast-moving rain bands. It's really coming down south side of Claremont, Mineola area. So all these downpours are moving at about 70 to 75 miles an hour. So you're not going to get all of that wind, but you're going to get some gusts over 60 with this through Claremont all the way up into Eustis. We'll keep an eye out for any rotation. Ocala, Okahumpka, all the way over toward the Dunellen area where we've had our reporters so far today. Some of the wind gusts just Aprazia, Sarasota, Bradenton 74, St. Pete 82, Punta Gorda 63. That was earlier on today. 7 to be exact at the International Airport. New tornado watch. And again, future track squalls along the East Coast, although you could still have some. I think it's going to be more prominent. I-4 of 70 toward Marion County, Sumter County. Here's the eye wall at the edge of Tallahassee, its way, and will probably be in Valdosta as a Category 2, strong Cat 2 hurricane. So widespread tree damage. Power's going to be out for days, weeks in this area, and we'll still have some of these kind of scattered outer bands. That's morning. So the tornado watch goes into effect till 6. We're going to be here all night seeing if we get any isolated tornadoes that will be moving very quickly, but generally we'll start improving the conditions, Greg, as we head daybreak in the morning. I think we'll actually get some sunshine going in the afternoon at the next 7 days because we're going to have a dry day for the part tomorrow, breezy but not as windy as it's been today, and then our scat in for Sunday, Monday, and we're also elsewhere in the tropics. We do have one other named storm. Isaac is not a threat in the North Atlantic, but the same Central American gyre CAG that kind of generated this storm may generate another one here in about 10 days or so. So even into October, I think we're going to be active in the tropics. We are poised for impact right now. Here's a look at Sarasota, and you can see one vehicle trying to make it. Storm surge. So this is. We'll be right back, and we to our station across 7 and some basically where the eye of the storm shore next couple of hours. That's next.
Amendment 3 could legalize recreational marijuana.
What do you think you're doing?
Amendment 3 is on the ballot, and oh my God, who are you?
I'm Big Weed. Amendment, we're the only ones that can grow it.
So I can't grow. So Amendment 3 is not about freedom. I vote no.
Big Weed, babe.
I'm Sheriff Morris Young. Illicit marijuana laced with lives. I know because I've seen it firsthand. Save lives by making marijuana safe, regulated, and lab tested. To protect our allowing law enforcement to Amendment 3.
Are soaring. Families are struggling. Blaine. I'm Erica Booth. As a teacher, I solve problems every day. Let's solve this one. We need forced target abuse, give homeowners more affordable options, and sideline the lobbyists. Tom Key to get informed. The problem is clear. The solution is to
Erica Booth for Florida House.
Leadership. I'm Deb Powell, and for me, freedom isn't some political slogan. It's why I came to America. But Rick's to take away your freedoms right now. For women, banning abortion. For families, raising taxes. And for seniors, ending Social Security and the freedom to retire with dignity. If you care about freedom, elect a senator who believes in it. That's why I approve this message.
Early morning Doppler 9. Witness News.
About 9:15. Again, we're anticipating the landfall of Hurricane Helene, a Cat 4, the strongest band area to happen within the next 2 hours or so. We have team cover from the front line to our certified chief meteorologist, Tom Terry, here in just a moment. Good evening. I'm Greg Wormuth, along with my good friend, Martha Sigalski. We've done this before.
We've done this a lot of times before, but this storm, Greg, it's amazing to me how fast it's moving and how it has gotten in such a short amount of time. And I mean, when it flipped to that Cat 4, oh my goodness, the people on the path, I hope and pray that they are out of harm's way. Our team of reporters have been out and about. Our Ashlyn Webb has been in Denellen right now. And Ashlyn, what do you have for us?
Yeah, Martha, we are really seeing the rain and wind pick up a little bit more from the last time that we talked to you. Right now, I am on the Withlacoochee River, and we've seen, the river moving faster and faster. This river for about 20 miles out from that. Seen, boats around a little bit more around us. We're drop, and fly. Anything super dramatic at this point. We're still monitoring conditions. Eye on now is the river levels, like my photographer is panning over to now. Faster. I know authorities have been this river in particular, and they have also drained out Lake Russo. They've drained out about 7 inches. This is the reservoir that connects to the Withlacoochee, and it's helped with the river levels a little bit around here. This river also connects to the Rainbow River. The big concern right now is if the river levels get too high, if it's going to impact homes around this area and possibly flood those homes. They're keeping a really close eye. We are too. You can see the rain just picking up now. Looking at that bridge, they're still on the road. We're during road conditions out here, but we'll continue to bring you guys updates. But for now, reporting in Denellen, Ashlyn Webb.
Ashlyn, thank you for that report. We'll check back in. That Withlacoochee River is an issue for folks not even necessarily today or tonight, but down the road, we know that the water does rise there. In terms of next, going right into the heart of where the storm is heading, in fact, the eye of the storm, about 62.
Shanna Butler is officially our storm chaser. Live and drive, that's what we call it. You are, I understand you're up.
You guys just saw us just a little bit ago. We were in St. Mark's, but we had to get out of there because the water was starting to rise, and we needed to be able to, because of that storm surge. The concern is that, I'm going to flip this camera around. We had out of St. Mark's. And what we were worried about is this road here that into St. Mark's. We were a lot of wind and may come down. We're just now seeing the wind and the rain come to here to Tallahassee. We've been pretty dry most of the day, but now our car's sliding a little bit on this road. That is why we decided to get out of St. Mark's, so we will get to Tallahassee and get behind some concrete buildings so we can withstand some of those winds that are expected here in the next few hours.
Eye of the storm, I mean, it's, I don't know if that is as important as the fact that you're going to really feel it, but it's about 61 miles from making landfall, and then it will trek its way towards Tallahassee. Do you anticipate being able to find higher ground relatively easily, or what are you going to do? What's your plan to stay safe?
Well, we will go now that we can understand kind of what, because we get a lot of talk, as you know. Why are you out there? That's so stupid. We do know what we're doing. We learn a lot about what keeps us safe. We will get between, a concrete that wind when we need to. The buildings in Tallahassee will do okay, even at a category 4. The problem is you just have to find a place. About, the trees falling, or, the power. Or unlike we can move around sometimes in a category 1, category 2, we will have to stay fairly stationary because will take the power lines, and so that's really our biggest concern. Because really quick, and if they come down in front of, or if they come down near you, we don't like to mess around too much with those things. So we, in a pretty safe space, so we can sit with you guys. When
Shannon and they've done this, they how to do it. The storm is quickly approaching Florida. Tallahassee feeling those impacts a little bit right now. And this is going to be a relatively long event in that it really won't be all clear for Tallahassee until 2 a.m. So grab, another cup of coffee or a Red Bull or whatever, because there is no better coverage, both safe than Shannon and Carrie provide. I have watched them work so many times in so many storms, and it is compelling and really tells everything through. And then the day after, and the day after that, and the day after, she just tells these stories about people and their lives and how they've been down.
And she knows how to do it responsibly and safely. All right.
Safe.
We're going to go live right team in Sumter County. Sabrina Majori is in the villages, and the last time, Sabrina, we checked in with you going on there.
But we're still seeing, show you where we are. Telltale sign of that, these rows of golf carts lined up here. We're not too far from the main movie theater. If you take a look off behind me here, you can see what we are seeing. Some of that wind gusts starting to pick up a little bit of that heavier as those stronger bands are coming through. Nothing too crazy yet. However, notice road start to deteriorate, and what we started was these trees down all across the road. On our way, we also saw lots of down power lines, and some of those were having issues. So stopping at those intersections. Again, we're starting to see some of the as we saw as crews were able to go ahead and make some repairs. We are told by Seco Energy, 1 mile the winds, that those repairs that able. So we imagine pretty soon, if they are still out and about, they're going to have to stop. At last check, about 400 customers is here to monitor throughout the night as these rain bands continue to come through. But that is the latest for what we've seen so far here in the villages. We'll send it back to you guys.
I want to ask you something, Sabrina. I know that you're seeing some steady rain. Had any big gusts come through or strong sustained wind?
Definitely seen some of those big gusts of wind come through. In terms of the rain, it's been kind of spotty. Right now we're kind of getting not so much rain dumped on us. In terms of the wind, I would say we are getting kind of heavier winds than here today. Where we saw a light pole that essentially snapped and it's been just from the last few weeks, there's been a lot of rain and these much, so a little bit of wind pushes them over, and that's a lot. Crazy to see that pickup drive.
Thank you, Sabrina. She's with photographer Thomas Durden, who's
another veteran,
who's a large man. And he's a veteran.
And they are doing a great job, and we appreciate them. They're going to do it properly and safely, because as Shannon said, so many times people want to do it right, and we're not going to put ourselves in harm's way. of the storm. Well, emergency management teams all across Central Florida have been busy for this moment.
Operations Center, all 67 counties, that handles logistics after the storm, actually before the storm, warning us and letting us know. Let's check in right now. Megan Milanese, she is the Director of Emergency Management in Lake County, and she joins us on the phone right now. And we have seen some trees down, we have seen power outages, lakes that appear to be wanting to overflow their banks. Can you tell us anything else about Lake County right now?
Yeah, so right now we're continuing to monitor conditions as we start to see these bands come through from Helene. We have our Emergency Operations Center at a level 1 activation. We're continuing to monitor with our staff in here. Once we start have crews out on the road, we'll start the situation and we'll be able to tell what to expect.
And Megan, what would you like to tell, I'm sure so many of our Lake County friends are watching tonight, listening to you. What would you like to tell the residents in your county tonight? You know, what can they expect a couple of hours, and how are you going to be able to respond to them if they need help?
Yeah, we really want to encourage folks to stay indoors as we're continuing to move. We are seeing very gusty, blustery conditions, frequent tropical storm force wind gusts, and some severe tropical storm force wind gusts as well. So we really want to encourage folks to stay indoors on the road and make that throughout the duration of this event.
To the right of idle is .9, and I would love to point out to county, but we simply cannot see it because it's on this massive storm that's some 500 miles of other issues in terms of have you had a lot of folks come? What general anxiety level that county?
Yeah, we have a few folks in our shelters. They're there to stay overnight in a safe. Have our citizens information line open overnight as well. You know, we have a lot of folks questions safe, and that's why we keep it open so that we have a real human that can talk to folks, put them at ease, and make sure that they have all the best information available to make sure that they can stay safe and keep their families safe.
And Megan, for folks at home, when you say a level 1, what does that actually mean? I mean, you're thinking it's going to go to a little 2. What does a level 1 mean? What does that mean for the...
So a level 1 activation of our EOC essentially means that it's all hands on deck. We call for level 1, it means it's a... So that means that we're staffing all of our emergency support functions, all of our different sections, so that we have all the resources that we need staged here at our disposal to make sure that we're maintaining good coordination, communication, and collaboration across different county agencies and making sure that we're staying in good touch with our residents throughout the duration of the event.
All right, well, thank you, Megan. I'm looking again at future clouds and rain. You guys got another big band coming your way soon, so be safe. And in terms of the people that live in the Lake Sumter, right, but we'll all, everybody, it's a scary time, especially at night when you start to hear the those trees outside. Thanks for your time.
And some people like the internet out, flickering power. I've gotten texts from some friends and my family right now at home. So, you know, we're trying to figure out the outages, letting you know, let come out to fix the situation. But again, this is the way it's going to be for a little bit as Helene makes its way.
All right, we're going to up to the storm front lines. This is Cedar Key, and this is earlier today. You would not with our certified chief meteorologist Tom Terry about this, but this for tonight, Cedar Key, a beautiful small beachside community right there. The nice little towns that as you make your way up the Gulf Coast, and white sandy beaches, are absolutely covered in water right now, and the residents who've lived there for maybe decades hopefully have heeded the warnings because the evacuation orders were in place for that beautiful area that is an island off the west coast of Levy County. Such a cute...
We've gone through this before, and they'll get back and rebuild after Helene. We're going to take a...
I grew up under a dictatorship before coming to the U.S. I'm Debbie Mooker's. I came to America, but Rick Scott is trying to take away your freedoms right now. For women, families, raising tax, and the freedom to retire with dignity. If you care about freedom, elect a senator who's in it. That's why I approve this message.
Heart disease, diabetes, cancer. Claimed it could cure them with a fruit smoothie. In truth, Miller's company has been called a pyramid scheme that preys on desperate people. It's shady, it's creepy, and that's why it faced a class action lawsuit. Miller has twice been sued for defrauding creditors and even lied under oath about her personal assets. You wouldn't buy Kelly Deanna Miller's snake oil. Don't vote for it.
When I grow up, I'm gonna be an astronaut. I'm gonna be president. I'm gonna be a professional protester.
Oh, Nate.
Douglas dreamed it. Spends his days marching with left-wing fun. Bail for criminals, violent inmates on our streets.
And I'll get paid for it.
That's not a real job, Mr. Doug.
Douglas, don't let his real job be to represent you.
Red flags. We see them in a bad place. The red flags are for Henry. Henry repeatedly called the cross a symbol of discrimination, called Christians white nationalists, even opposed optional prayer at school football games. Sarah Henry, too hateful, too radical, too many red flags. But David Smith will solve problems, not start them. David Smith.
Got some breaking talk with the latest Hurricane Helene. It is now, the wind speeds have now increased to 140, so that's a strong Cat 4. It would have to get to 156 to go to Cat 5, but whether or not that happens, it's probably a big deal. I mean, we're talking about a very strong Cat 4 storm that right now is 58 miles from landfall, and for some, it's being said to be an unsurvivable storm if they stay and did not evacuate. Coverage here of Hurricane Helene on the northwest part of Florida and on into Georgia and South Carolina, and what will happen here tonight.
Of Helene, 140 miles per hour. You're with Dave. These warm waters, guys, just stormed.
Yeah, meteorologist David Heckard. Well, just that they all had hurricanes. Like, okay, you should have told me that a week ago.
I know.
But the storm structure here, warm water through here. We're about 58 miles from the center crossing the coast. That falls, they call it, but the northern off the coast.
Yeah, the National Weather Service in Tallahassee, which is responsible for this area, they're going to begin extreme wind warnings, it looks like. It should say in very short. Extreme wind warnings, as you know, Tom, these are the top of warnings. These are the equivalent of shelter-in-place warnings. They're only issued for major hurricanes, only issued for winds 115 miles per hour plus. So maybe 30 of these warnings have ever been issued in the history of the National Weather Service, and they're going to be issued very shortly.
Yeah, this is incredible here. And I think, again, the worst will probably just a hair on the east side of downtown Tallahassee, but I think they'll still have a lot of trees down, a lot of issues there. We still have a new tornado watch in effect till 6 a.m. Watching these outer squalls coming in from the Gulf of Mexico here. We've already had lots of wind reports. You've been getting the reports coming in for winds. Into at the executive, what was it, 50?
I believe it was a little over 60 miles an hour, which is just a few miles here. No doubt about it, if you've been... Again, these are what we call gradient winds, or just winds in association with Helene itself.
Yeah, and these are going to be the gustier squalls. But you'll easily get some gusts over 60, 65, maybe. We're on the eastern side of this hurricane, so this has been that we expected to have the worst weather. West of 75 here, they're officially under a hurricane warning west of Ocala.
Yeah, and clearly along and west of I-75, that's where the power outages are going to be and more extensive. I know we've gotten some sporadic power outages even in Brevard County, and you can see there's that update at the top on our gust up at the airport.
Yeah, and again, there's what we call gradient difference in air pressure, necessarily rain band or anything like that, but 60 miles an hour, that is how big the wind field is. We've been talking about the size of this.
Yes.
Nearly large, and that's why far away. It's 62 miles an hour.
Yeah. Which is probably why the surge or wash. The worst is probably come and gone right now along our coastline. We're going to have erosion here in the morning, but nothing past systems.
Yeah, nothing like what we're going to see up here. And that's why we've got all of our crews heading away from the water right now. Cat 4, 140 as of 9 o'clock. And we'll get hourly updates anytime to get radar position. Plus, they're getting updated now after the vicinity. But this is still what's incredible to me, David, is that Tallahassee crossing the border with Michael, which is kind of coming at this angle, but this one is going to I-75 as a hurricane, maybe up to Warner Robins.
A little bit more populated area as well. Huge cities, but communities like Thomasville, Valdosta. I mean, we're talking about cities that they deal with hurricanes, but they don't deal with significant damage. They could be dealing with that later on in the next 24 hours.
Yeah, just the amount of infrastructure and power outages and things like that, it's just going to be astronomical through that area. That's why all the linemen have gathered down here, because they're going to be up there. Have been kind of in. That was 40 mile diameter. Just the size of the eye of this is probably at least 50% larger than we normally would see.
And that's something very unique about this system, because it's developed so quickly. Systems that have very, very small eyes. I think it was Charlie. If you remember, Charlie only had a 10, 15 mile eye radius when it made landfall in Punta Gorda. This one's already a 40 mile wide eye there, so it's a very significant eye, more Irma or Ian-esque.
Well, those were big ones.
Yeah.
So this, I've kind of traced out the area of maximum winds, basically, which will high walls, and of course that's with the storm motion on this right side, but that's why we're going to have such huge surge. But we've noticed just an incredible amount of lightning here, and look at the lightning here before landfall. Ridiculous. That is the intensity of the eye getting stronger.
Yeah, if there's any good news, it's the fact that now the actual core of the system is getting closer to the coast. We have what we call frictional effects. Basically, the land, if you remember your middle school science class, the friction actually can kind of slow the intensification down a little bit. So we may be nearing kind of the top end of this system.
We don't think it'll be a 5, but
no, it's going to be a major impact.
Yeah, if that's good news, then who needs 7 to around fall, and again, severe impacts to power infrastructure. And this is how big the tropical storm force wind field is. I think they gave up on trying to figure out how big the tropical storm force wind field is, but that is incredibly big. Let me see if I can just, I'm going to do this on the fly here, find my little distance here. So that is 300 miles across. That's a big, right now we've got a storm force winds right through here, and it's going to downtown Tallahassee, just on the east side.
That's basically caliber. We're going to see extensive power outages in addition to that hurricane force wind band where we're going to see pretty.
Yeah, so, and again, that's going to travel all the way up. They're probably going to into Atlanta overnight. And just update here too, tropical or a tornado watch till 6. We had a couple of rotating storms earlier. We're going to have more on the western periphery, and early warning future track I think has done a good job. You can see the center making landfall through here, and it's going to be a long night, David. He'll be with me all night tonight. We'll hand off with Brian and Cassie. But these outer rain bands, and it's going to be, I think, a much more severe tornado risk farther to the north.
Yeah, very odd to see an enhanced risk of tornadoes from Jacksonville all the way up near the Charleston area. In fact, I read a discussion earlier, they were talking about the possibility of significant tornadoes, which is very unusual with a tropical system like this.
Yeah, no, I think we had an EF2 out of Irma's. My mother was chasing that one when it happened too. She's our storm chaser. But this storm will still be across southern Georgia, 3 o'clock in the morning. And folks, just another reminder that we're going to have just all kinds of mess up here across the north. No power, trees down, highways impacted, I-10, I-75. I know I-10 was closed after Michael came through. And so we're going to have just a huge mess north, but we will start to improve around daybreak-ish.
Yeah, if there's any good news in this whole situation, it's a very fast-moving system for us locally, so we're really going to be over and done with the system.
So lots still going on here tonight. Again, we have landfall imminent up to the north in about 2 hours. And we'll also be the power outage across the state. We're 500,000 in the state of Florida. Going to go 2, 3, 4 million, or who knows what, overnight.
You guys could quickly remark about, to me, it appears that exactly what you said and the modeling said would happen has happened. I remember vividly saying that, you know, it could be a cat comes on shore. That's exactly what happened. It's getting better, aren't they?
Yeah, they're getting much better. And this is such an unusual situation. Low pressure area, and but this system is going to come up here and start going in what we call a Fujiwara, where you get two lows that kind of. We're going to have an upper level low and that thing is going to do this little counterclockwise corkscrew. It's a quirky system.
And we, I mean, all between us, we have decades and decades. This storm, we've remarked, and the warmer weather, warmer water temps that makes this different. What makes this different for you?
You know, before the season began, we were commenting about things were just all lined up for a bad season with the incredibly warm waters. And then we had this kind of quirk where all the main development region, all the storms coming off Africa were just fizzling. We weren't getting anything, but we're like, don't give up yet, because we still have these storms that come locally. And this developed in the Western Caribbean, which is a hot spot for that. And I think a combination of the size and
of the wind field and the size of the storm. When we think of huge storms, think of Irma, think of Ian. These were storms that really got going in what's called the main development region, a little bit further away in the open waters of the Atlantic. Irma survived day 9, day 10 before it made it to Florida. And hurricanes have a tendency to expand in size as they kind of age through a process called the eye wall replacement cycle, which kind of expands their wind fields and those. We just had a potential tropical cyclone. We didn't even have a center of circulation. So to me, that big headline with this is the size of the, how quickly it developed, considering it really wasn't anything just a couple days ago.
Yeah, I just pictured quite a couple of spots here. You can tell the rate will affect. It was, yeah. It's just all miles across, and that's the hand that's coming right on the east side of Tallahassee, and hopefully will not hit the radome in Tallahassee. And we've never had a Cat 4 since they
inside the eye wall. I was in one of the storms we had during the 3. You can see the stars above you. It's so bizarre.
They won't get in the eye wall, in the eye up in Tallahassee. And unfortunately, just like when we had Michael up at Mexico Beach area, it hit that Civic Center, and it just was relentless winds and pounding for a long time. So east side of Tallahassee, lots of damage.
We talk about these hurricane hunters when they go in there, on Gonzo and Miss Piggy. Is there some point, are these storms just too strong for them information they need, or do they go up?
Pretty much, they have No, they flew into Wilma, which was 882 millibars. This was like 944. It was the most intense, and it was like a 10-mile wide eye. They had to like try to dive in, trying to. Will do.
And you keep in mind, these are the best of pilots that are military weather service for years to do regular commercial 2-person crew.
Oh, yeah.
Hurricane Hunter's normally 3-person crew. That way they have a person dedicated just to maneuver the engine speeds to help kind of can maintain altitude and speed while they're actually flying.
Oh, that's just
Not for the faint of heart.
No, or those that got a weak stomach.
No way.
That's the seatbelt sign
Yes.
on those flights. Yeah.
And no respiratory at all.
And you'll note when we my wife would get mad at me because I would ask so many questions. Bring your topics up.
Smart guys we have here. We're lucky.
I like to ask questions. Giovanni Diaz, let's ask him questions about how things are in Winter Garden.
You're in Winter Garden. Now look, and you are in our live and drive. So you got your wipers on.
Yeah, starting to really feel now here the impact, Martha. We are in Winter Garden, as you mentioned, and the wind is really hitting us heavily now. I was just looking around here to see the street signs, and we're really shaking heavily, and that's just the beginning of. You were hearing from Tom earlier. He was saying that this is the time you're expected to see and really feel the intense storm here hitting us. Here could 5 miles. There's not a lot of traffic on State Road 429. It has shelters open right now until tomorrow morning, so if you need a safe place to be, that's an option for you. Now, when we were driving, making our way here to Winter Garden, we were really feeling the impact of the wind blowing and pounding against our vehicle here. So, to feel it. Were over at the outlets earlier today. They were telling me that the stores were all closed down earlier because of this weather, which is really good. We have a lot of tourists here in town, so many of them are coming from different countries. They don't know how to deal with this kind of weather. I remember from my personal experience, Dave was talking about Hurricane Irma in 2017. That was my very first hurricane here in Florida when I moved from Brazil. And I had no idea how to deal with this kind of weather. So it's really good that the outlets were closed down earlier so people can go home, can go to their hotels and stay indoors, stay safe. Disney also closed down some rides today because of the weather. A little bit of background here also. I'm seeing some power outages in Orange County right now, not really widespread, which is really good. Couple of power outages also reported in Kissimmee, according to the Kissimmee Utility Authority. We will keep making our way here toward around Winter Garden as we are expecting to feel the impact of this storm now, and we'll have more updates for you very soon. Martha Gray.
All right, Giovanni Diaz, we appreciate you've been all over in our live and drive from a so we appreciate you and staying safe on our roadways.
Eyes and ears for us. We've been also receiving pictures from you. We'll continue tonight and then tomorrow as well. I want to show you submitted.
Yeah, we expected to see Helene making some impacts in our area. So let's see what you're seeing. Look at this. Wow. This is.
It's underwater.
Yeah, look at that. St. Petersburg, where it's happening, not a road. It's turned into a river. We can see a tree down here in Orlando, and we are looking at the beach right now, where we got some rough waves going through in Cocoa Beach.
Yeah, as we just look at these, we're seeing them for the first time with you as well. So again, as we roll through these pictures, we want to make. And a real good way to do that is to the link so that you can hit the drop down and share your.
I got to put my glasses on because it's the first time that I was seeing those photos cool. as they came in. But wow, that one where that road, no road.
They needed no explanation.
That is true.
Pictures
like
worth 1,000 words. All right, we'll be right back with more than 1,000 words on Hurricane Helene. It's now making its. It's almost there. I'm looking right now. It is less than 50 miles from impact with the Florida coastline. We're going to have landfall here shortly. We'll bring it to you live right here on Channel 9. Stay with us.
Red We see them on bad plays, bad deals, and bad politicians. The red flags on Sarah Henry. Henry repeatedly attacked people of faith. A symbol of discrimination. Nationalists even opposed optional prayer at school football games. Sarah Henry, too hateful, too radical, too many red flags. But Dick solve problems, not start them. Veteran, trusted, David Smith.
During COVID, working families struggled to get by, while Marcia Summersill cashed in. Summersill took thousands of taxpayer dollars, meant for working families, to bail out a company with just one employee, herself. Marcia Summersill takes from working to lower rates. Doug Begson, working families first.
Heart disease, diabetes, cancer. Kelly Deanna claimed it could cure them with a Miller's companies preys on desperate people. Each shade sued for defrauding creditors and even lied under oath about Miller snake oil. Right.
I'm gonna be an astronaut. Be president. Professional protester.
Oh, me.
Did it. Douglas spends his day marching with left-wing radicals, defund the police, cashless bail for criminals, violent inmates on our streets.
And I'll get paid for it.
That's not a real job, Mr. Douglas.
Professional protester Nate Douglas.
Be quiet then.
Represent you.
I do. Move over from it. I'm getting chips.
Now,
Don't. Come here.
in the next hour or so, we'll bring that to you as we continue to track Hurricane Helene here on Channel 9. Good evening, I'm Greg Warman.
And good evening, I'm Martha Sagowski. Thanks for being with us tonight. We appreciate it. Our Nick Papantonis is live for us tonight. We understand, Nick, you are in downtown Ocala. What do you have for us?
Because there's not a... That's, and I said that's the point here in a way, because what's happening across the Ocala metro area is there are a number of tree branches right now taking out those, and so we just kind of come back here where there is plenty of power, more protected. So you can see there's some people walking to go to one of the open restaurants that is in downtown Ocala here. But that's the story, is there are a number of people, I don't have an exact figure right now, that don't have power in their homes. It's scattered across the area. We were driving around mostly the northwest side, which is a little bit more rural, and we did see some fairly large trees uprooted and come a little big signals. They are working. There are many in the area that are not. So that's the story. A lot of power. Seeing the calls up on the sheriff's CAD, and it's just there's a couple of outlying towns here in the Ocala area too. Same deal. We of course showed you a few hours. Yeah, house that got here in free as well. The night. Oak branches in Ocala. We've heard a lot of sirens. You can kind of hear one maybe in the background right now. We've also seen a lot of going to that PowerPoint, a lot of transformers blowing, a lot of green and bluish flashes in the sky, which kind of signal yet another outage somewhere. The power crews are out. The winds are not strong enough yet for them to be hunkered down, as Tom would say. And we do know, though, that they do expect, as the winds pick up as the storm passes us by, if it ever gets to the point where the sustained winds are above 40, that's when they'll start, at least temporarily, until they feel like go out again. But at the moment, the crews are still out. The first responders are still checking on these things, and they are answering quite a number of calls here in Ocala. A range of different things, starting again with that tree that went into the apartment roof. We're now in Ocala. Nick Papantonis, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Nick, thanks so much.
All right, we appreciate that. Hurricane Helene, again, is closing in on the Big Bend. We did get this update from Marion County. Tom just mentioned it, 14,000 without power in Marion County. So that's a pretty significant number, and we haven't seen those strong outer bands just yet.
And it's important to note this isn't like 14,000 people, it's 14,000 customers,
right.
A home, and how many people are in those homes. To let you all know, we want to go now to one of our reporters who is in the area waiting for the arrival of Helene. Let's check in with Channel 9's Jeff Deal, who is in rural Wakulla County.
We are in the town of Panacea on Florida's Gulf Coast. We are directly south of Tallahassee, where the storm is expected to make impact. We've been out here for the last several hours, and we've definitely seen the wind really increasing out here. The rain continues to come down. When we were out here earlier, this is a bay right off of the Gulf of Mexico, and it really looked like ice when we come out here, as you might expect, with the Gulf of Mexico. Out here as here and the storm continued to landfall here off Florida. This is a restaurant right here on the coast that we've seen even some just little things. You see this are starting to bend and kind of ripping out right there. Inside they have all of the chairs, all of the tables stacked up here. This is a storm that's expected to be as much as 15 to 20 feet of storm surge. Really right here for this place, and also a lot of the homes in the surrounding areas. They do evacuations for this area. In Wakulla County, they don't even have any shelters open. They're really urging people to get out of the storm. We're going to continue to monitor things, and we ourselves are going to be moving water as this storm draws closer, and we'll bring you updates throughout the evening and into tomorrow. Reporting from Florida's Gulf Coast, I'm Jeff Deal.
You know, and to talk about the timing is everything, as they say, and just to give some perspective as to when Helene comes through. For Cedar Key, high tide is at 11:30, which is going to make this simple.
And that will have they've never seen. The mayor of Tallahassee, whose name spelled differently is John Daly, like the golfer, said, quote, "This is the largest, most intense hurricane in the capital city prepared." Here's what he had to say.
Our greatest concern is obviously the wind effect and also the rain effect. Talking about rain with our normal rainfall, the ground is set. Rain comes, it's going to loosen the trees. As you know, Tallahassee is internationally known for our beauty and our live oak trees, and that helps bring trees down. But when you have Category 4 sustained winds, yes, you're going to have structures here in town, and it's important that we speak the truth to the residents. We must take this extreme.
You know what is so, I don't know, as we wait for storms, unlike a tornado or an earthquake or some of the other, you see it. It's like a train, literally, that is coming at the power of a locomotive, and there's nothing you can fly and get out of the way of it. But
you can feel it out there. It was super today. You can feel it, yeah.
It is coming, and it will be here in the next 2 hours. Tallahassee will never look the same. What happens tonight to our state's capital? We'll be right back as we continue our coverage of a major hurricane, a hurricane of size and strength that has never been felt before in the city of Tallahassee. Next.
Insurance rates are soaring, families are struggling, and both parties are to blame. I'm Erica Booth. As a teacher, I solve problems every day. Let's solve this one. We need to create an insurance fraud task force to target the and lobbyist. Tom Keene, he joined the lobbyists and voted against reform. The solution is to
Cancer, a fight. But this is a fight without rules, or rings, or referees. At Advent Health, with you, with world-renowned physicians, leading clinical breakthroughs in research, and by your side.
can win big on Hard Rock Bet with a little bet. And you don't need to know everything about every sport. Good, because I don't. Yeah, me either. All you need is a feeling and a phone. You definitely... Big payouts for every kind of player. Bet. Roll with us.
It's been through a lot.
We'll get there.
Love begins with trust. I'm not going anywhere. That's why I got a Subaru.
The all-new Subaru Forester. Safe, long-lasting, trusted, loved.
Get 4.9% APR financing for 72 months on a new 2025 Forester. Going on now.
Central Florida's chief meteorologist Tom Terry, only on Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Much of Central Florida are approaching 50 miles per hour, but the folks end area will have sustained hurricane winds of 140 miles per hour. Sustained, just blowing through the city of Tallahassee and anything in its path. It is now just about 9:30. Good evening, I'm Greg Warmouth.
And good evening, I'm Martha Sagowski. Again, we were talking about the timing of knowing at this hour, 11:35, high tide for Cedar Key. It's going to be catastrophic with what Helene does. And you're looking right now at these are the power outages that we wanted to let you know and bring to you to let you know how many customers are now without power. We've been hearing from 600,000 we are hearing without. Those are 600,000 customers without power at this time. And again, Helene has not even really made landfall, that bullseye that's going to be happening soon.
There are 21 or so million residents of Florida. So we have 600,000 customers. If you gave every house, 2 people, 1.2. So I mean, it is a significant amount of our population right now has no power. Hopefully they'll get that turned on. That's why you saw literally thousands of crews, many of them staged here
just
in
waiting.
Central Florida. They have to wait until the winds are down below 35 miles.
And the roads are passable. Make sure that no debris is in the roadway so that the men and women can safely to go to get the power back. We're going to go right now to get the very latest on Helene with Chief Meteorologist. And Tom, this thing is packing a punch as you look at the power outages right now.
Yeah, and well, we hate to put a big storm like this anywhere. I'm glad it's not coming here, of course, but it's going to really be walloping the Big Bend. And just zooming in, following up on the map you just saw around the state, roughly 14,000 customers without power across Orange County, 24,000 in the Sumter County area, 14,000 up where Nick Papantonis is, up in Marion, 70,000 over in Hillsborough. Pinellas is even higher. So this is just part of what's going to be a continuation of more events, more impacts here during the late night hours. I want to go ahead and show you if I'm on the right computer. 1 mile crossing the coast, but they're what's called an extreme wind warning. And if you have anyone that's still up there, they may freaked out because their phone started chirping and making racket. This is a wireless emergency alert. When they get this, it's kind of emergency of the winds coming through. Force winds over 115 miles an hour. This is the criteria. This will only happen during major hurricanes, and we've only had a handful of these that affect the state of Florida, and it's getting it right now up in the Florida. And we're on the eastern side. We're getting some pretty good rain squalls coming through from Frostproof through the Highway 60 corridor, Solivita, Poinciana, Four Corners, Kissimmee, Winter Garden. I checked the cameras at the Terry House up in Apopka with some kind of squally bushes and trees blowing around through there. Here's Groveland and Claremont, Kissimmee, Meadowwood. So right now, we do have a new tornado watch that goes into effect till 6 o'clock in the morning. We're going to be watching every one of these little guys that come out on the eastern side of this hurricane because they have a tendency to rotate. And these are some of the wind gusts higher than we expected here. 62 gusts at the airport now, 45, 43, 49. So it is all of a tropical storm, if not a severe thunderstorm. When we have a severe thunderstorm, it's 58 thunderstorm gusts throughout the area. This is good tonight. in Georgia. A record-setting storm for storm intensity in part of the Gulf of Mexico. And again, kudos to the hurricane hunters who've been doing their invaluable missions. And I just want to point something else that's been a very unique facet of hurricane has been all the electrical energy around the eye of the storm. That just shows you the instability. Normally, hurricanes are very warm core. It's very warm, very, very high up in the atmosphere, and that's what makes them unique in nature, their warm core. But usually that precludes getting a lot of lightning. You got to have a lot of ice and water kind of interacting together, and there's just not a lot of ice. But there's so much instability here. We're generating lots of lightning now, but makes landfall. It won't be able to keep strengthening for much longer, but widespread severe impacts to power infrastructure all the way up I-75 toward Atlanta. 6 a.m. we'll be watching for not sure, but not at overnight tonight. And I think our flood watch that is officially out for all of us is probably not going to verify, and that's good because everything else is pretty much. Also see very heavy rain bands for our western zone. Downtown Orlando, there is the eye making landfall just on the east side of Tallahassee. Valdosta, Thomasville getting hammered all the way up toward Atlanta. And we're going to get very heavy wind and rain up through Jacksonville tonight. Tornadoes will be more widespread here across coastal Georgia and South Carolina. We will still see these outer rain squalls coming through, so it's going to be occasionally gusty, over 60 across most of central Florida during the overnight hours. Here's 3 a.m., and then by the time we start the day tomorrow, we'll start to bring some sunshine back. But we are, again, 9:30, about 2 hours or so, roughly, from the center point. That center crosses the coast, but they're just now starting to get the northern eye wall in, Greg, and it's going to be quite a wallop.
It really is. And let's get kind of a ground view of that. Shannon Butler, again, has now arrived in Tallahassee, which you heard their mayor, John Daly, say earlier, unprecedented storm. He says they're prepared. We'll never see Tallahassee look like it does at this moment because of the devastation.
And Shannon, this is a monster Cat 4. I'm assuming no one are on the streets right now. No one's on the streets right now with you.
No, I think we were about the only car that was coming in from St. Mark's into Tallahassee. Everyone is off the roads. Everyone here at our hotel, we are pushed up against a wall right now, trying to just get some cover here on this side, east, when the winds come in. But at our hotel, even there's signs in the doors right there that say everyone needs to be inside at 6 o'clock and cannot come back out until. We have not seen one single soul. Actually, the hotels, people are taking this very seriously. The last time I was on the air about about this storm, and they really were. The minute it shifted 5 o'clock yesterday to that Cat 4 and shifted Tallahassee when we were in Cedar Key, Cat 4, that are getting pushed up into places like Cedar Key and Crystal River, and then on top of that, as it came around Big Bend, then it was going to hit straight up here through Tallahassee, a town that is just not used to these like a Category 4. We are expecting the power. We are expecting a lot. Swing around here, you see just how many trees are in Tallahassee. If you don't spend a lot of time here, Capitol, and there is at the Capitol, but most of the streets have been cleared out to make way for this hurricane. The only people really on the roads right now. They really wanted people to evacuate those coastal towns where to AMU to get and not stay here through the storm. And most of those kids, it seemed, when we went by there yesterday, when we arrived in Tallahassee, did heed that warning. They went home to their families and got out of town, especially these kids who don't know what a hurricane is.
Well, that is one life lesson. And Shannon, as you're there not seeing anyone, I see the steady rain. Did you experience anything on the roads that gave you the indication that that those outer bands were coming. Tom says that the strongest part of that storm will come and make official landfall in 2 hours. What's it feel like in terms of physically there?
It was interesting when we left St. Mark's. As soon as we pulled out and we left there, because it was getting dark and we were worried that the power may go out, and that storm surge, that we were worried about the river coming over, and it goes so quickly. In fact, the deputies warned us, please don't stay here too long because it will be so quick. And we saw that when we were in Horseshoe Beach just a few weeks ago, that one minute we were on the air with you, and by the next time we had to get in our car and get out. So we could see kind of the water starting to rise. It's not high tide yet, but it's coming that way. And we started to get just a little squally weather as we were in St. Mark's. But now we have gone 20 miles up to Tallahassee. And this rain we've found we are just at the beginning of this. And it will not get any better from here.
It's, that monster Cat 4. Have you been in this category, Shannon? I know you've covered so many of these storms.
Yeah, we've been in some Cat 4s, not very many. Most of them were 2s and 3s. And even when we saw that, I think people know just what a storm of that magnitude can do. Better for us that we are in Tallahassee and not right along that water because the storm surge, because of the winds there. A lot of these hurricanes, we're on the coast and we can stay there and get through it here. There is a way that even without that storm surge, was here at a Category 4.
Yeah, and again, as Carrie Krosky, you're a photojournalist guy, we could make out those large pine/oak trees. Tallahassee is a beautiful city. Again, that lawnmower comes through known as Helene. It'll be like a buzzsaw, and we'll need buzzsaws to get people out of there. Thank you, Shannon. We'll check back in shortly. Meantime, that storm surge that Shannon touched on continues to be those who live. And as those tides rise, Martha, safety remains a top priority, of course, for police and first responders who are trying to get people out.
And Franklin County Sheriff AJ said those are the storms. Here's what he got.
The tide is, and as you said, a lot of our streets in Apalachicola and on the island are underwater. And I just came across the causeway. The water's about even with the top of the causeway. It's not over the road, but if we get any more water, it will be over the road. And I'm encouraging people, do not get out in this weather. Stay home. I just witnessed a car ride through high water and it broke down. So don't get out in this weather so that we don't have to be out trying to save your life. And if you stay home, then you're protecting your first responders as well.
And that's so important, those first responders out there, we want to keep them obviously safe as well. And if they don't have to go out to someone who's doing something they shouldn't, that's the best thing possible. Again, that high tide at 11 got such catastrophic damage there.
And we saw that with Ian and the way that it impacted us back storms. Worst time. Timing is everything. Timing of what we a lot about Tallahassee, the Big Bend, but when will you of the impact for us? We can reports now from Maitland to New Smyrna for areas that aren't by the storm, who are seeing the dim. We'll be right back.
class-leading safety features at every turn. A Hyundai Tucson. Lease a Tucson for $199 a month, or get 1.99% APR for 60 months, or up to $1,250 bonus cash. Visit your Central Florida Hyundai dealer today.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I finally figured out the perfect Wawa drink order. Is the drink that goes perfectly with my day.
Now, smoothies, 18-ounce or 24-ounce beverage for just $3 or $4. Gotta have a Wawa. SUV. Don't miss 3.9% plus 2,000 cash back on Expedition. Or get 5.9% and up to 4,500 cash back on Bronco. Be the new Ford SUV. You've been waiting for the right deal, and your wait is over. Ready, set, go. Stop by your local Ford dealer today or visit us online. Offers end September 30th.
What should we do for dinner?
Chicken. Pizza.
Wawa.
From pizza to hoagies and everything in between. Wawa has dinner for everyone.
E3, we continue to track Hurricane Helene. Good evening, I'm Greg Warmouth, and again, coming. And
in with us on this evening. We're going to get right now to Tallahassee, which is going to bear the brunt of this monster storm deal in Tallahassee. And Jeff, how is it with you right now?
Right now, very calm, actually. We're getting quite a bit of rain dumped on us, but the wind is very light. It's quite a bit of difference than what we saw over in Panacea, right over on the Gulf Coast. We were up here, storm surge and all of the high winds that they're expecting right there to at least have some more shelter here in Tallahassee. But it was interesting, the wind was really whipping when we left a little over an hour ago. Right when we got done with our live shot, we were standing right near a restaurant. All of a sudden, all of the power went out in that whole section of town, so it was pitch black. My hat flew off my head. And then the entire drive here, I believe it's Highway 319, on our way up here, the wind was just blowing right across the road, and there were some areas where there was just trees lining the road, and the trees were just waving back and forth across the roads. But then once we got into it was light. People out over here, right here, to the state capitol. We had a gentleman walk out of one of the nearby offices on a smoke break, and he said that he lives just a short distance from here, but he said his whole neighborhood has a lot of trees, and he felt like he was concerned that trees could come for actually sleeping in his office. And he also noted that here by the state capitol, the power system is pretty good. He said he rarely in this area. Obviously, they want to keep it on for folks working here to keep the state government going. So he wasn't really too worried about things right here in town. But obviously, with that storm coming, with those high winds, especially like you guys were talking about with Shannon, if this is a Category 4 hurricane, obviously it's going to pack a punch even here. And again, just like we were talking about earlier, there are a lot of trees in this area, so we are expecting, at least in some parts of town, folks will lose power and things will be damaged here. But right now, we're just kind of keeping right here.
Imagine before all the high tech, like go way back in time. It was raining.
That's it. You wouldn't know what was heading your way.
Yeah, and until you did. I mean, we've had, obviously way back in, I guess,
1900.
1900. 1800, 1900. A long time ago. Nobody knew.
That's true.
And then thousands died. Hopefully people are getting out of the way, because here it comes. Let's go to Tavares now, and Daryl Matthews has been patrolling the streets.
He certainly has, Greg, and he went to a neighborhood that doesn't have power.
I told trees and power lines surrounding area.
Look and listen to what we're hearing right now. That is a generator that's helping this family out right now. They're fully prepared for this hurricane. And now, as you can see, the surrounding area, it's pitch black. A lot of these people are now without power because of those trees. But I am speaking right now with the homeowner who is very prepared for this right now. Sir, can you tell me exactly how important that Generex is in this time right now?
It's very important. If you require oxygen, this is one thing that keeps her oxygen machine running. Long, but they'll only last so long. And if you can't recharge those or you don't have, your oxygen doesn't work.
Now, I have spoken with families who are without power still and do not have generators. They say the power has been out for about 25. Who says they're Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, Gerald, thanks so much. Now we want to check out the current power outages. This is coming from FPL, OUC, and Duke Energy. Again, these are all the power outages right now from across our state right now. FPL has almost 39,000 customers, OUC 3,000, and look at that, Duke Energy with 270,000 customers right now.
And as we see the lights flicker here in Central Florida, a reminder that if you lose your television signal, also know that we are on the at 580 AM. They're also on the FM dial as well. But that is a station that is simulcasting all of our broadcasts, and you'll keep hearing Tom Terry throughout the night until the storm hits.
All right, Cedar and Michael Bobbitt speaks right now about the storm impacts ahead of Hurricane Helene making landfall. This is what he said.
In the last come apart, is rising up to swallow the island. During Hurricane Idalia a year ago, we got about 7 foot of storm surge, and it completely devastated the island. We're looking at between 12 and possibly 20 feet of storm surge. Luckily, I'm in a house at the top of a tall hill. I think I'm okay, but I know it will exist in the morning.
Again, we heard from officials on saying not a survivable of or low-lying areas, and we've talked about this when high tide's coming, and this is all factoring in to make this so much worse.
You have 800 permanent residents of Cedar Key. It's quaint, beautiful. There's one Road 8, Highway 24, one way in and one way out. Shannon Butler was the street that and the marks on the buildings of how high surge has been. This has never happened before. And again, the surge is basically, think of the ocean, the waterways being lifted, and if it were a bathtub splashing over the side. And because of the wind, it's wind driven. It's not the rain that makes water go up. It's
going to make it so much worse. Well, that's why Florida's West Coast flooding continues to be a major issue. Take a look at this near Myers today. This is areas, it's just completely flooded. And in this photo, you can see emergency heading to some low-lying areas right now. In the past, Greg, here in our area, when we've had those flooded streets where they've had to bring in that big equipment to go in and rescue people. I remember Shannon was on the story, that facility that had people, bedridden, and they had to go in there with those the big machinery to go in and rescue them and pull them out of the flooded roadways, flooded homes, to get them to safety.
Yeah, hopefully we won't see that again. We do know that a lot of people also ride behind cars through that or get out in the water. And you have to assume the water is electrified, not to mention it likely is polluted, and we'll leave it at that. Imagination on that one.
All right, well, if strikes up of their school, Seminole, Brevard, all going back to school. It's normal hours. Tomorrow, Brevard County says their after-school activities will also be resuming.
Yeah, tomorrow is Friday. The weather should be good. There'll be Friday night football. That's just one of the outdoor activities that is going to happen tomorrow. Meanwhile, the Marion County School District announced that It will remain closed tomorrow. Schools close tomorrow as well. Flagler, Marion, Osceola, already pre-scheduled student holiday, has nothing to do with the storm or its impact. But again, there's a look at our local schools. We have 9 counties here, and that gets you up to date. Some are going because they can, others are not because of various reasons. Maybe that there is an issue with the wind still and getting the kids' bus there. Some of the schools are used as shelters, and in Lake County especially, there are a lot of special needs people tonight that are in a high school. I think it's a high school. To get them out and transition it back would be.
All right, we are keeping you updated with the very latest information on Helene.
All right.
I want it, and I can afford it to be one and the same. With Chevy Trax, a car and driver 10 best. The rugged Chevy Trailblazer and Chevy Friend Truck you want is all within reach, connected by OnStar. Get 1.9% financing on this 2024 Equinox when you finance with GM Financial. Or get 17 total cash allowance. One of your Central Florida Chevy dealers today.
Watch Eyewitness News from any device with Eyewitness News Livestream. Sponsored by the law firm of Bogan, Munz & Munz. No gimmicks, just results.
Insurance rates are soaring, families are struggling, and both parties are. As a teacher, I solve problems every day. Let's solve this one. We need to create an insurance fraud task force to target abuse, give homeowners more affordable options, and sideline the lobbyists. Tom Keene, he joined a lobbyist and voted against reform. The problem is clear. The solution is to.
Erica Booth for Florida House.
And every day in September, $1 car a day giveaway. 30 car days. Anybody can win a Mercedes. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call 1-888-ADMIT-IT.
You can walk into any store in Florida and buy a beer, but you'll be alcohol. But the government treats it totally different. It doesn't make sense. We'll legalize marijuana, lab tested and from a store, not the street. It's time to give responsible adults the freedom to make their own choices. Vote yes on Amendment 3.
Get the facts at yesonfeet.com. Vote yes on Amendment.
You can count on me. There's only one Morgan & Morgan. We are approaching 10 o'clock, and we are getting more and more hour from. I'm just astonished. We see a wobble, we see this, we see that, but the intensification was supposed to hit a 4 before landfall, and unfortunately, that forecast was right on the money. Good evening, I'm Greg Wormuth.
And good evening, I'm Martha Sigalski, and with it being high tide at making it
to
Helene. Let's turn things over right now to certified chief meteorologist Tom Terry. Tom, you and Dave Heckard, what do you got for us?
Yeah, just some incredible stuff here, Dave. Together, and what really stands out to me right now is the fact that the eye itself is going to be making landfall here in about an hour and a half officially when the center passes the coast. But despite the interior, David, being roughly 35 miles or 40 miles, it looks like it's getting a little flattened here. This is going to be the maximum winds around the 60 miles across.
Yeah, and to put that in perspective, this is all of Taylor County right here. Right here is Perry, which also got hit very hard by Idalia. So we're going to be talking about a swath of hurricane force winds, including eastern sections of Leon County. The heart of Tallahassee may escape the very, very worst, but it's going to be a very close call within maybe 5 miles between the east side of town.
These extreme wind warnings, thankfully, but you can see it coming all the way through, and this is where the enormous surge is coming up and through right now. And you had some information from some of the tidal gauges.
Yeah, so this is from the National Weather Service, and we talked about storm surge being a huge concern. I want to take you to the Tampa area here, right out of the gate. So
they were really worried about that.
They were really worried, and that is being achieved. So this is basically near downtown Tampa, in East Bay, and it is observing 5 feet, which is considered moderate flooding. But then let's head out to the Gulf of Mexico itself. Here's the Clearwater area, and I did see a report earlier that we are in major flooding. I see a report, Tom, that the Clearwater Beach Pier, the main pier, Pier 60, the water, we have a little over 6 feet, which is considered in the Clearwater area.
Yeah, we've been seeing video coming in earlier. It was coming up into
so we
Clearwater.
do have a significant flooding event going on. Even south, this is downtown Fort Myers, I believe, and you can see they are also dealing with a surge event there around 4.6 feet. So moderate flooding going on well away from the center. Now let's head up into the kind of the core of the system.
I want to check Cedar Key.
So this is Cedar Key.
Look at the
right
spike
now.
here.
Yeah. So and we talked about this before in Cedar Key. You can see we are. Let me move the mouse again here for everyone.
For those who are listening on radio, perhaps are kind of on a set, you can't really see too well. This is our tidal gauge over here at Cedar Key, and it just made a huge jump here.
Yeah. So we're at 5 and climbing. It looks like your key.
So that would be. Tell me what 5.58.
That is above the main sea level. I don't know exactly how this is set up. Right. But this would be considered moderate flooding. So I don't know if it's a surge event of 6 feet or 5.5 feet.
It's still climbing right now.
But it is climbing. So clearly we're talking about a pretty significant surge that's continuing in the sea.
Concerned about losing parts of.
And then in St. Mark's, where Shane was earlier, you can see it kind of level up, but now beginning to rise. Now, St. Mark's had their low tide this evening. They hold off. Actually, this is Apalachicola, excuse me. Apalachicola holds off. Their high tide isn't until later in the morning, so they may have a.
This storm makes landfall through here. We were talking about this too. First surge where it's actually going to be blowing offshore here. So this is kind of what happened with Irma.
Yeah.
It blew the water out of Tampa Bay. It was weird. People were walking around out there in the sediment, but it's certainly building up